many law firms can hit their growth goals just by doing a good job of that, because you are going to get more referrals, you're going to get more repeat business opportunities, right? That is sort of stage one. And then stage two is when you're ready to go beyond that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Law Firm Marketing Minute. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and I have
Eddie.
I brought him back for another episode.
2 for 2, baby.
Yeah. And this week we have a great guest, Danny Decker. Many of you may recognize Danny from Spotlight back in the day. He has returned. He is the prodigal son.
I don't know. I thought you were going to do the Return of the King reference. I mean, you really let me down here on the...
I've done a lot of Lord of the Rings references.
Too much, some might say.
In this podcast, so I think I just had to give it a little bit of
All
a
right,
break.
fair
But
enough. I'm cool with that.
Danny, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, hey, it's good to be here, Mike.
Why don't you give the audience, the ones that don't know you, a little bit of an introduction. Also, for the ones who do know you but maybe weren't sure where you went, just kind of fill them in on what's been going on the past few years with you.
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, this is kind of a fun full circle moment, right? And I'll kind of keep it brief because I know we want to get to the action, right? That's
Absolutely.
why people listen to this stuff. But so I co-founded Spotlight with Mark back in, I think it was probably 2011.
Mm-hmm.
We built it together for 7 years. Had a great time doing it. I kind of felt the need, as a lot of entrepreneurs do from time to time, to scratch some other itches and do some other things. So I sold my ownership to Mark in 2018 and spent the next 6 years or so really deep diving into more of the marketing strategy side of things. So I wrote a couple of books, did a lot of coaching, consulting, workshops, really working with law firm owners and other small businesses as well, kind of teaching them marketing strategy more from a strategic standpoint and less of an execution standpoint, right? As an agency, we help law firm owners and small business owners execute.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to spend some time on the strategy. And so I did that for several years. And then what's funny is around 2022 or so, more and more of my consulting clients and the folks that I was helping with strategy really needed execution help. And I frankly got tired of referring that work out. And so I decided to launch an agency to help with the execution, right?
Love
so
it.
It's like, great, we got the strategy figured out, but we still need execution help. So I launched an agency in 2022. Meanwhile, Mark and I have stayed really close friends. My agency grew really fast. Spotlight has continued to kind of do their thing and do great work. And as we really got to talking about our services and sort of the lead gen and the Facebook ads and the landing pages and email marketing that my agency specialized in, along with the content marketing that Spotlight has always been so good at, we just felt there was a ton of natural synergy. And so towards the end of last year, we really got serious about these conversations. And I think it was early February, we made this merger official. So we're now Spotlight Marketing and Branding, and we now offer kind of a complete marketing solution, right? The content that Spotlight's always been so good at, combined with paid advertising, retargeting, all that stuff that my team is really good at. And that brings us to today.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start there, because since this podcast episode will be mainly focused on the digital ads aspect of it, right? I mean, we have countless episodes about content,
Lots.
and we will continue to in the future. But I think this is a really great opportunity to start off the digital ads in the Law Firm Marketing Minute space. So let's start there. First and foremost, with anything comes some kind of misconception, right? Especially from people who aren't necessarily totally immersed in a certain world, right? For example, a law firm owner for the most part, isn't totally immersed within a marketing world. So there's some misconceptions that they can have regarding that. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you believe law firm owners might have about digital ads? Over the years, what have you seen?
Yeah, great question. And really a very true premise, right?
Yeah.
Obviously true to us in the marketing world, but it is very natural when you are immersed in one thing, when you're immersed in running a law firm, to have misconceptions about the way tax strategy works, or the way accounting works, or the way sales should work, or the way marketing works. And so, 100% true. The biggest misconception, I would say, and this isn't just limited to digital ads, although I will talk about it as it relates to digital ads, that most law firm owners and really most small business owners have when it comes to marketing is they're always looking for a magic bullet, right?
Yeah.
Like this one thing that if I just start doing it, like all of my marketing and
Everyone
sales
I've
problems
talked
are
to
going to be
says
solved.
this. Everyone that owns a business tells me this. I mean, so yeah, absolutely.
Tells you that they're looking for
yeah,
that
right.
magic
I mean, or they
bullet.
said their clients are looking for it from them. I mean, either they're looking for it or they're getting clients saying, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially financial advisors.
And the reality is, there's in life in general, there's very few of those magic bullets. And
Yep.
if you think about it for you as a law firm owner, as you're listening to this podcast, you know, you probably have a version of this conversation with your clients too, right?
Absolutely.
They think they're going to just go, you know, hire you, make one payment to you, and you're going to fix everything. And then they are frustrated when it turns into, well, no, it's a little more complicated than that. It's maybe going to cost a little bit more than that first payment they made, right? Like whether you're in family law or estate planning or immigration or criminal, like you're not generally speaking a silver bullet for your clients either.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what that turns into in the marketing world is you have to be comfortable with trial and error.
Yeah.
Like you have to be. Marketing is an inexact science. I always tell people it's a part art and it's part science, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're dealing with human beings who are inherently irrational.
Oh yeah.
And so
You don't say.
of course, it's going to take some trial and error to figure out how to get those people to take action,
Yeah.
right? And when you figure something out and it works for a while, it's not going to work forever. And so even if your marketing system right now is killing it, you can't just leave it alone for 10 years. You probably can't leave it alone for 10 months, let alone
No.
10 years, right? And so part of building a marketing system that really works is you've got to constantly be testing. And even when you have things that are working, you need to be testing new channels, new campaigns.
Yep.
You need to continually find new things that work so that when the old thing stops working, you're not screwed.
Yeah.
So now to kind of really answer the question that you originally asked, with digital ads, you know, I think that the biggest misconception is that from day one, as soon as you turn an ad campaign on, you're immediately going to get exactly the right phone calls from exactly the right potential clients, and 100% of them are going to hire you. Mm-hmm. And like that's just not accurate. I will tell you, from time to time, we launch an ad campaign and on day one it starts working and it doesn't need much modification. But that's not the norm, and any marketing company that tries to tell you that is the norm is full of crap. It takes testing, it takes refining. There are so many elements to a digital ad campaign. What is your messaging? What are your headlines? What does your landing page look like? What is your call to action? Like all of that stuff needs to be tested and refined. And once you do that and you start getting phone calls, then sometimes you realize, okay, the people who are calling me aren't quite the right fit or have this expectation when they should really have this expectation. Yep. And so you got to make some changes. And so, yeah, biggest single misconception is that it's just going to work from day one and there's no need for testing and iteration.
Yeah.
The reality is there's always need for testing and iteration. The beautiful thing about digital ads is they give you the ability to scale really fast. So I know you guys talk a lot about referrals and how great of a way to grow your business that is, and I fully agree, and maybe we can talk in a few minutes about how digital ads help you do that.
For sure.
The truth is, generally speaking, if I get to just choose one lead that I'm going to get today, and I can choose if it's going to come from a referral or come from a digital ad, guess what? I'm going to choose the referral.
Absolutely.
Because generally speaking, referrals close at a higher rate. They come in, they're preconditioned to trust you. They're not necessarily shopping around. So what I usually see is referrals close at like 60 to 70% for a lot of law firms versus digital ad clients maybe close more like 25 to 30%.
Yep.
The beauty though, so if you're listening to this and you're like, well, then why wouldn't I just always rely on referrals? Well, you should start with referrals. But the problem is eventually you kind of reach that ceiling of referrals and you're kind of dependent on other people to make those referrals.
Yeah.
Digital ads allow you to take it into your own hands and scale things up a lot faster. So even though there is probably almost always going to be a lower conversion rate, you also have a lot more control over your volume and you can scale faster.
Yeah.
So here's a quick slap in the face from reality. You mentioned before how with marketing you have to be willing to fail at things. In the marketing world, we literally have the term A/B testing, right? And that means that we're testing something against the other. and we are expecting the one thing to fail and the other thing to succeed so that we can see, what to continue with. That's literally a 50-50. Hey, 50% of the time you're going to fail kind of thing. Like, if you're worried about failure, marketing is a very grim world. But,
yeah, you gotta be willing to test things. And I would look at it more as, if I'm running an A/B test, what I'm really looking for is which one works better, right? Like, I'm hoping that option A doesn't have a 0% success rate.
Sure.
I'm hoping that it has, maybe a 12% success rate, but then option B has a 16% success rate, and then you move all your resources into option B, and then you create option C, and you're hoping to get to a 17 or an 18% success rate. But like, your point is exactly right. You're typically going to start, whatever you put out there first, you're only going to improve from there. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be willing to realize, hey, iteration number 1 of this isn't going to be the best version. But guess what? If you don't ever take that step, well, then you're never going to get to the end result.
Nothing
either.
changes if nothing changes.
Exactly.
I know, I'm Mr. Negativity, but to put a positive spin on testing,
that's why we keep them around.
Testing is amazing in the sense that it takes the decision off of you, right? I mean, whether you want a blue call to action button or I want a yellow call to action button, the testing is going to dictate which one of these is performing better. It is, even to the style of fonts, the testing is there for you. It's a huge tool in a positive way.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, Eddie. And opinions don't matter
Never
when it comes to marketing. And it's funny that you say that because there are so many different elements of an ad campaign that you want to test.
Yeah.
You mentioned several of them. Headlines. What's the color of the button? Yeah. What font are you using? And we can all have our opinions in terms of what looks nicest, but I've just seen too many examples of what I would consider to be an ugly ad or an ugly landing page that does great, and the nicer looking one doesn't convert as well. And that's a great example of why it is so important to be tracking data and be running data oriented campaigns. And the truth is, most marketing agencies, most marketing people, most business owners, most law firm owners, if they're really being honest, they're not A/B testing every element of their marketing, and they are making a lot of decisions based on what they think looks nice.
Fair.
And certainly when it comes to digital ad campaigns, landing pages, ads, it's just pretty easy if you have the tools to do that type of testing. And we talk about A/B testing. Really, it should be ABCD testing, right? Because typically we're actually testing multiple, beyond just two variants. But the bottom line is, if that is not happening, I promise you are leaving dollars on the table.
Always.
Just it's just a reality. You don't know, you can't optimize without testing.
Yeah. So I know we're about at the almost the halfway point through the episode, but I think this is a great great point to actually define what is digital ads, because I've heard, just over the years I've been with Spotlight, I've heard people in the legal space refer to, say they put up a social media post and they boost it and they say, oh, that's digital ads, or even those digital billboards, they consider those digital ads. What are we talking about very specifically, and then we can get to specific examples of what digital ads are.
Yeah, I think I would say at its simplest, it's any time you are putting an actual spend behind content, then it's a digital ad, right? So if you're just posting, if you're posting some updates on your Facebook page, or you're posting a picture on Instagram organically, but you're not spending any money on it, that's organic content. Mm-hmm. As soon as you boost that content and actually spend dollars, to me now it's an ad. On the search engine side of things, if you are posting blogs and writing articles and optimizing your website for the organic rankings, that's not a paid ad. But as soon as you start a local service ad, or as soon as you run a Google pay-per-click ad, now you're in the ad space. And so roughly speaking, there's organic, which is, call it free, and then there's ads, which you're paying for.
Sure. So okay, so now that we have defined what we're classifying as digital ads here, let's move on to budget, right? What's a good, at least a starting budget for a small law firm in terms of digital ads?
Yeah. Great question. And I actually, before I answer that, I want to dive a little further into the question you just asked, right?
Sure.
About how exactly do we define digital ads? Because the interesting thing is, yes, everything we do from like an ad standpoint, could fall under that category of digital ads, but there's different strategies that you can use like in that universe. And it directly speaks to budget, among other things. So let's go there for a second. So one of the most effective ways that a law firm can use paid ads is actually targeting them at the people that are already on their list or that are already in their universe in some way. For example, past clients, past leads who didn't end up becoming clients, referral sources, like all of those people on your email list. Those are people that already have at least some level of familiarity with your law firm.
Yeah.
They
talk about the stages of awareness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's some level of familiarity. Well, you can create ad campaigns targeting those people. So this is not about going and finding entirely new potential clients. This is targeting your current clients, your past clients, your referral sources, your colleagues, right? People who already have a level of familiarity with you. And you do that, I won't get technical here, but it's basically it's a campaign where you take your email list, you take your contact list, you load it into, the Facebook ad manager, the LinkedIn ad manager, and you build an ad campaign that's targeting the people that are already on your list. And the awesome thing about that, and in my opinion, literally every law firm should be doing this. It is an absolute no-brainer. By the way, this is something we can do for you if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I need help doing that. Hey, guess what? We can help you do that. But whether we do it for you or you do it for yourself, it is an absolute no-brainer because for just a couple $100 a month, literally like $300, $400, maybe $500 a month if you have a huge list, you can absolutely saturate that list. Like you can show ads to those people just about every single time they're logging into Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever platforms we choose. And that's just super powerful because, again, these are people who already know you. They're already getting your email marketing. They're already, if you're a Spotlight client, they're getting your email newsletter. But also then every time they hop onto Facebook or Instagram, they're seeing your stuff.
Yeah.
We call it cross-channel marketing. And it means they're seeing you, in their email inbox. They're seeing you on Instagram. They're seeing you on Facebook. They start saying things like, wow, these guys are everywhere.
Yeah.
And assuming that the content that you're creating or that we're creating for you, like is quality content, it's really, 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 really powerful.
Yeah.
So that type of advertising, very small budget. But then when you decide, okay, now I want to scale and grow beyond that, and then whether you're using, Google or LinkedIn or Facebook ads to do that, which by the way, there are pros and cons to each, and you should schedule a discovery call with us if you want to talk about which one makes the most sense for your firm. But when you are ready to do that, you're going to want to spend more, right? Depending on your goals, depending on the size of your list, depending on, the size of your market, anywhere from, I don't know, $1,200, $1,500 a month. Like if you're not willing to invest at least that much, I probably wouldn't launch that type of ad campaign until you're comfortable, investing at least that much. But we have clients that are spending, over $10,000 a month on ads as well. So the idea is you start kind of going for proof of concept, you start getting results, you start increasing your spend.
Yeah. I was going to actually ask you what you recommended for a small law firm, where to start in terms of their ads, but it seems like it's very strategic based. It's very much goal based. And hey, maybe you should start with, Meta ads. Maybe you should start with Google ads or something.
What you should start by doing is getting clear on what your actual goals are.
Yeah.
I have had conversations with hundreds of law firms over the years, and there are law firms that are like, hey, our goal this year is honestly, we just want to go 5%. Like, we're happy with our revenue. We're focusing on improving our internal systems. we're moving offices, right? We have some big priority this year, and so adding a whole ton of new clients isn't our top goal. And it's like, okay, a marketing plan for a firm that is looking to grow 5% is very different. I just had a conversation yesterday with a law firm that's looking to grow 50%. All right? Like, that is a very different conversation.
For sure.
Now I think about it, I had a conversation earlier this week with somebody that wants to double this year. So 100% growth. Again, very different goals. And so that's actually the first thing, is to make sure you're clear on what those goals are. And by the way, it's not like a percentage growth goal or a revenue target is a great place to start. But you also can have some conversation about, well, where do we want that growth to come from? Are we looking to launch a new practice area? Do we want all of our growth to come from that new practice area? I also had a conversation with a law firm last week that did have, like, I want to say they wanted to grow like 15 or 20%. So, reasonably ambitious growth, but they were really determined to do it only by deepening relationships with their current clients. This is a law firm that has multiple practice areas, and they recognize that they have a lot of opportunity to do more for their current base of clients. So even though they're looking to grow, somewhat ambitiously, they're also clear that they're actually not looking for brand new clients. Instead, they want to market to their current clients and just help them understand the different ways in which they can serve them, right?
Yeah.
So all of these questions have to be answered before you really dive into the nitty gritty of where should I start, Facebook, Instagram, what should my budget be? And in all honesty, and this is why I'm really glad we're talking about this, many agencies, many marketing managers, many people just jump straight to the tools and this is what the campaign should be without having these strategic conversations up front. Well, that's like getting into an airplane and taking off, but literally you haven't yet even decided where you're trying to go, right? It doesn't make any sense. Again, another shameless plug I'll throw out here. This is why the first thing that we do when we have a conversation with a potential new client is it's all about getting to know them and their goals. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to take this airplane, Mr. Law Firm? Yeah. Once you tell us where you want to take this airplane, then we can help you create a flight plan.
Yeah. We had a webinar a couple of weeks ago that you were hosting, or last week that you were hosting. And one of the things that you said, and it makes so much sense to what you're saying right now, is that the hammer is a great tool, but if you need to put a screw in the wall, you wouldn't use a hammer, right? It's all about the purpose.
What are you trying to build? Just figure out what you're trying to build. Maybe you don't need nails and screws. I mean,
and our longtime listeners will, hopefully at this point they see the recurring theme that, hey, you need to set your goals first. You need to know where you're going before you try to get there. We've said that amongst all things, and it still rings true here for digital ads.
Yeah, 100%. Hammer is a great tool when you have a nail, and it's useless if you got a screw.
Yeah, absolutely. So we touched on it a little earlier, and I kind of want to, really show the audience the power of the content side and how the content works well to, we've said multiple times that content makes all of your marketing work better, right? So how does content, very specifically, how does content make digital ads work better? What are some examples?
Yeah. So I kind of think it starts by saying, well, what is ultimately the purpose of content marketing?
Yeah.
Why are you creating content marketing? And my answer of that is because, we live in a day and age where it's not good enough just to tell a potential client that you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You really need to show them that you know what you're doing. And you do that by creating content. You do that by writing blogs, articles, white papers, podcasts, YouTube videos. Right. You create content to kind of, number one, just show people, potential clients, that you know what you're doing. And number two, as a way to connect with them and help them understand how you can help them. Demonstrate some empathy, show them that you get it, right? And so content does that stuff, and content done right does that. And so if you're running an ad campaign, for example, let's say you're running a Google ad campaign, and on a Google ad, you got limited real estate to work with. You don't typically have an image associated with a Google ad. There's not, you just have 200 characters or something like that. So you don't necessarily have the ability to say everything you want to say in a Google ad. And so, cool, you're running a Google ad. And hopefully you're getting some phone calls directly from that. But what is also often happening is those people will see your ad. They might be like, this law firm looks interesting. Let me research them a little bit before I actually call them. And so what do? Probably they're either going to go to your website, in which case I hope you've got some video and some blogs and some really good content that is effective. Or maybe they're going to look you up on social media. Same thing. Hopefully you've got some content there, right? And so your content is going to make your ad campaign work better because it's going to reinforce like that this person, they're not just running an ad, they actually know what the heck they're talking about, right? And then, but there's a part 2 of this too, which is ads also make your content work much, much better. And if you were posting social media content organically on Facebook as an example, on average, only about 5% of your page followers are actually going to see your content. Which is crazy. 10 years ago, maybe more like 15 years ago, in like the heyday of like Facebook marketing at this point, the goal is just to get people to like your page, because if they liked your page, they were automatically going to see the majority of the content that you posted. But, Facebook is a business and they're trying to make money. And so that's not how it works anymore. If you really want to reach a large, an audience more than just 5% of whoever happens to follow your Facebook page, you really need to put some ad spend behind it. Boosting posts, retargeting with content. And so a small ad spend, this is kind of the strategy we talked about a little bit ago, like literally a couple $100s a month, like you can 10x or 20x or probably 50x the exposure and the reach you're getting with your content. And it's like, man, you're putting effort into creating this content. You're doing it yourself, or your team is doing it, or you're paying somebody to do it. Why wouldn't you also put, a very small, almost insignificant ad spend behind it in order to reach a whole heck of a lot more people? To me, it's just a no-brainer. If you're creating content, you should have an ad budget to make sure that you're getting the most out of that content.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that you hit it on the head there, especially since, I've been in the social media world myself for, 10-ish years now. And yeah, it's so much more powerful when you're able to actually connect with the people that want to connect with you. They've already made that effort, but that action to follow your journey, basically. Like, don't just leave them aside. We talk about nurturing all the time. Like, focus on have a level of focus on the ones that are already know who you are, or have an idea of who you are, and really kind of nail them on the head. Because at the end of the day, if you bring them into your system and they don't take an action right away, it doesn't mean that they don't need what you have. They might just be not at that level where they trust you just yet, or maybe they don't exactly need what you have just yet, but they will down the line. So it's almost like wasting your audience, in a sense, to not try to get out in front of them.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about strategically. There are stages of how you should think about this. And the first thing that every law firm should be doing is nurturing those relationships that you just talked about. The people that have already done business with you, the people that you met networking. And, the way you do that is with an email newsletter and is with social media content. And then when you supercharge that by adding some paid ads to make sure that those people are not just getting your newsletter once a month, but they're actually seeing your content every time they log into Facebook or Instagram. Like, now you can feel really good that you are reaching those people, like, meaningfully.
Yeah.
And many law firms can hit their growth goals just by doing a good job of that. Because you are going to get more referrals, you're going to get more repeat business opportunities, right? That is sort of stage one. And then stage two is when you're ready to go beyond that. And you're ready to create ad campaigns that take you beyond that circle that already know, like, and trust you. Mm-hmm. So, but 100%, if somebody comes to me with no marketing in place, I'm going to say, listen, let's start by, let's let's nurture and let's create real relationships with the people that already know, like, and trust you, because there's a lot of business to be had there through repeat engagements, through referrals, a lot of business to be had there. So, like, don't skip that step. Comes back to what we said at the beginning, the like, everybody looking for a magic bullet, and it's like, oh yeah, I just want to run some ads, and, let's spend $10,000 a month and let's just blast my stuff everywhere. It's like, no, let's build this thing strategically. Let's start with the people that already know, like, and trust you. Let's get some return from that. Let's prove that this stuff works, and then let's scale from there.
Yeah. So Eddie's biggest takeaway from this episode is going to be that you can go on many, many dates, but if you don't nurture those relationships, it does not become fruitful.
That's what I've been missing. I need a magic bullet.
Yeah. So, I know that we're going to have future episodes where we dive deeper into very specifics about digital ads. I think this was a great episode to really kind of give a general, sense about, hey, why you should have or consider digital ads to begin with in your law firm. And Danny, any other final words about the general idea of digital ads, or do you think that we covered pretty much everything?
Yeah, no, I think this was a really good conversation. I definitely am excited about some future episodes, right?
We
can go a little deeper and talking about, the specifics of how to use Facebook ads, how to use LinkedIn ads, when to use social ads versus Google ads, right? There's a lot of conversation to be had there for sure, and it'll be fun. But for anybody who's listening to this and is like, I think this is resonating, I think I need some help growing, definitely myself and my team would be glad to have a conversation with you. So hit us up, spotlightbranding.com. Let's schedule a discovery call. Like I said at the beginning, here's what you should expect from that call. We're not just going to launch into a sales pitch. We're going to spend a good amount of time getting to know you, getting to know your growth goals, getting to know what your ideal clients look like.
Yeah.
And only after we've had that conversation and really understand you and your law firm and where you want to go, only then are we going to tell you about how our tools can help you get there, if our tools can help you get there. Because I'll be the first one to tell you, we're not, not every single law firm, not every single small business needs exactly what we do. And when we have a conversation and it turns out that for whatever reason, like, this isn't what you need right now, or maybe it's what you need in 12 months, but it's not what you need today, we'll tell you that too. So for anybody listening to this, love to have a conversation and kind of talk you through how this all works.
Cool.
Love it.
And I'll put in the description of the podcast a clickable link that people can easily click on to get to that page. But Danny, appreciate you being on the episode.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was fun, guys. Thanks.
Always.
All right, everyone listening, thank you for listening. If you could leave a review, please do. It helps grow the podcast. And have a great weekend. We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.